Be in orbit.
Step into a world where the ordinary meets the extraordinary as we unravel the enigmatic journey of former UAP Task Force analyst Sarah Gamm. From the rural fields of Missouri to the clandestine corridors of the Pentagon, Sarah's path is anything but ordinary. As a fourth-generation farmer turned astrophysicist, she navigates the shadows of the intelligence community, decoding satellite imagery and encountering the unexplained. Join us as we delve into Sarah's work for the UAP Task Force, explore the mysteries of the universe, and uncover the truths that lie beyond our sight. This is a tale of curiosity, courage, and the relentless quest for truth, an invitation to question everything you thought you knew. And now, onto part one of our conversation with Sarah Gamm. We're going to start off with simply letting people know who you are and what your background is and what your qualifications are. So if you could just tell us a little bit about the story of Sarah Gamm.
Thank you for having me on. My background is, my undergrad is technically on paper physics, but it is astrophysics. I am from rural Missouri, fourth generation farmer here. And then after college, I moved out to the DC area, and that was my first intro into the intelligence community, or the IC for short. And I worked for National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, at a ground station and did a lot of satellite operations there, imaging satellites. So or remote sensing. So that's just satellites orbiting Earth and looking down. And then I had a curvy road, ended up at NGA, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, for many years. And during my time there, I also ended up in a grad school program, and that's in countering weapons of mass destruction. So through this curvy road of my career of doing mostly satellite imagery analysis and being an image scientist, I somehow talked my way into supporting the UAP Task Force, and kind of have had a curvy road since then. So I worked at ODNI for a little bit at NCBC, National Counterproliferation and Biosecurity Center, it's a mouthful, and did a lot of, all kinds of plethora of things there. I was a nuclear counterproliferation strategist there, so I covered global nuclear issues, and ended up at the Pentagon at one point, and now I am working for the Army, for Army Corps of Engineers. I'm a scientist for them. Very curvy road.
Yeah, very curvy, and life takes you in those kind of directions sometimes. If you just kind of flow with it, you end up in places you never thought you would be.
And that's exactly how my life has been.
Sounds like, anything where the word nuclear comes into it for me, I just think, oh God, that must be such a stressful day-to-day job. Is that the kind of job it was?
It was very stressful. I joined during 2020 during the pandemic, so it was low staff and we were on shift work. My boss was on an opposite shift with me, and I went from looking at imagery. I was actually doing bistatics, which is RF energy send and receive from two different sensors, to working policy and basically doing what I went to get my graduate degree for. And it was a completely 180 for me. So it was stressful for many reasons because it was a massive learning curve and didn't have many people around. I ended up somehow absolutely loving my time. Never knew I would end up screening calls from the White House, but that happened. I got to brief Senate, the SISI, the Senate Select Committee of Intelligence. I got to brief POTUS advisors and all kinds of stuff. So it was really amazing exposure that I likely wouldn't have had in any other job in my life so far.
Yeah, absolutely. How interesting. And I've just got to ask the question because I know anyone listening is going to be asking, when you say you briefed the White House, and Sissy as well. Do you mean about UAP or nuclear stuff?
You nuclear stuff.
I'm clarifying because you know how people are, right? They'd be saying that you briefed the White House.
Nuclear stuff. It was actually at the time, this is 2021, I believe, I want to say, 2022 maybe. But it was Iran nuclear issues at the time. So,
wow.
Which is, I'm kind of happy I'm not there now. So I would be a very busy girl again if I were still in that job.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, away from the chaos of the world, let's steer towards UAP here, because that's really, there's a logical path through from your career as to why you would be kind of selected for something like this. But how would you explain to someone why is your background useful for studying UAPs or UFOs, as they're known by many?
Yeah. Well, again, the curvy road. So I've always looked up and I've always loved the stars. The stars and the sky were my first passion in life. And I'm thankful enough to have gotten, my astrophysics background in it. And I still love looking up. A lot of people, after you get a degree in something, you end up not loving it anymore. And so I know I wasn't immersed in physics and in astrophysics in hardly any of my jobs. I did get to use it once, but with that background and then the WMD aspect, because UAPs are known to be around nuclear sites. So that was actually my first time supporting the task force was, it technically wasn't the task force at the time, I don't think. It was like a conglomerate of a collaboration of people helping each other, and some of the task force members were in that space. But I started supporting because I saw a report of a nuclear missile site, and something unidentified was there, and I just thought, this is it. This is why I've done all of these things, and I have an open mind, and I loved X-Files growing up. I mean, even in college. And all of my years in the dorms and in apartments, I had the I Want to Believe poster in my room, in my bedroom. So, we need to find Mulder's sister. She's still out there.
We absolutely do. I wasn't satisfied with the answer for what happened with Samantha. I was like, nope, I'm going to pretend that's not the end.
Garbage.
Also, that's really cool that you kind of grew up, watching the X-Files, watching, Mulder do his thing for the FBI. And now you're essentially someone that Mulder would call, right? To be like, hey, I need to check this. Yeah. That's wild.
Pretty cool.
Very, very cool.
Still haven't gotten his call yet, though. But, life is still young.
Did you put the X on the window?
I haven't. That's what I'm missing. Thank you for the reminder.
Give it a go. Let me know what happens.
Yeah.
So whilst working for the UAP Task Force, how much did you interact with those, running the office, people like Jay Stratton? And I know Travis Taylor was there for a bit. None at all?
No, I supported the task force from a very small corner at NGA. So NGA as a whole had a lot of people on the distro. So whoever volunteered to want to support, you were added in the team. So no one was denied. It was such an amazing collaborative space. And everybody contributed if they want to, if they had time, because this wasn't your full-time job. So you still had your full-time job. And if you could contribute, 10% a week, that's cool. Or if it was only 5%. So it was a really beautiful space to help out and to give what you could and what your management also allowed. So I never met anybody outside of the NGA team other than some other folks that were in this collaborative space. So there was chat rooms that we could all connect through, and then a SharePoint type site. So I did meet some other people from AARO and other agencies. We've all become friends over the years, and I still talk to some of them today that I met in 2019. So I never met any of the bigger, more senior people on the task force.
Sure. Did you ever meet David Grush before his coming out to the world?
Our paths never crossed. I left before. I think it was when he came on, I left because that's when I went to ODNI. So I think we did this number. Yeah,
ships in the night. Mm-hmm. There is, for ages we hear from people like, I work with the task force and so on and so forth. And there is a really kind of cool way that many people might not know that you can tell that someone worked with the task force. And that is something we both share, Sarah. I know you have one, a UAP Task Force Challenge coin. I have one too. I was given it by someone, not at liberty to share, but you designed it, right?
Yeah,
so I was going to ask you, could you just run through the design? I don't have it with me, so I can't show it, but I'll put some pictures up on the screen.
I have some of it tattooed on me. So if people really don't think I'm about disclosure, I have, I would have it on my forearm, but my forearm's limited in space because the canvas is small. But semper venandi and ad invirignotum are the two Latin phrases we chose. And it's on so if you're looking at the coin, I wish we would have talked about this beforehand because I would have brought it with me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But on the rim, there's actually a number. So they're numbered. I don't know if people know that. So they are numbered, and then ad invirignotum and semper venandi are around it. So semper venandi is always hunting. So I have that facing me on my wrist. And ad invirignotum is to find the unknown. And then on one side, there is an astrolabe. So that's, a astronomical navigation tool. So to help you navigate, and you're always looking up. And then on the other side is kind of an inside joke between all of us. It was a really amazing group of people back then. When we first started, it was, I don't know, less than 25 people in this collaborative space. And we all helped each other. We worked so well together. We were from all over the world, basically, and just trying to approach these unidentified objects from a scientific perspective. So we used each other's knowledge and networking and became a really close team and close friends that I am still grateful to have them in my life today. And so there's an inside joke on the other side of the coin, and it's in binary, and then it glows in the dark too. So I don't know if you've noticed there's a question mark on it that glows in the dark.
Yes.
But it's the inside joke is to stay classy, and I think it also says bleep blarp.
Bleep blarp, that's it. And I know that because I saw it glow in the dark, and I thought this is a puzzle. And I wrote the whole binary out, and I translated the full coin, just the question mark, the coin without the question mark as well, and that's the closest I got to a real sentence. So I was like, that's what it is.
Bleep blarp. And that's a part of our inside joke. And to stay classy, and staying classy still is really hits home today about being nice to each other and to keep it real and to keep it professional and to be kind to each other.
I love that. Yes, absolutely.
I can't wait to tell the other guy. He doesn't want to be named and known, so I can't wait to tell him that you have this and you actually worked out the binary.
I did, yeah. I messaged Vinny with it as well. He was like, what is it? And I figured it out and I sent it to him, and he was just like, oh, great, nice, finally.
Well, and I ended up sending Vinny the PDF that went with the coin as well. And we've actually been thinking about ordering another round of coins if people want them. I have no idea if people still want them or not, but we've been debating adding another order in.
That's so exciting. You should do them in a slightly different color so you know which wave people were in.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good idea. I like that.
So maybe a silver, because it was bronze, right? So yeah, silver.
It was bronze. I like that. That's a good idea.
That would be fun.
Second edition.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get on to the juicy stuff. What did you guys find? What were the amazing videos and photos that you came across, and how much can you tell me? And blink twice if there's someone off screen telling you can't tell me anything.
I'm looking because I'm seeing lightning and I see flashes. So hopefully my power won't go out because it is storming like crazy outside.
Wow. Well,
so if it gets dark, I'll just keep moving my mouse on my computer to make sure that I have light from that. It is very much pouring.
Oh, wow.
So juicy details. I learned more about birds on my time supporting the task force than I never, ever would have imagined. They didn't prep you watching X-Files about how much you need to learn about birds and how birds aren't real. So, good joke.
I like it.
Thank you. but in like even fishing boats in different patterns look crazy from satellite imagery. Or one of the other first, so that I mentioned the first like report was on a nuclear missile site somewhere in
Uh-huh.
the world. And then another one was, because we would look at unclassified data as well. So it wasn't just limited to classified. We looked at everything. So there was a crazy video that was on YouTube. And so we were looking at it, and and some people were like, oh my gosh, that's this, that's this. And I was like, guys, that's a bolide. Of course, my Missouri comes out because my accent, but I'm like, that's a bolide. And they were like, what in the world is that? Can you dumb it down for us, Sarah? And I was like, oh yeah, not everybody knows what this is. I was like, it's just a bright shooting star. And so of course look up other examples of bolides and fireballs or bright shooting stars, and that's exactly what it was. So it was really neat to look at these objects from a different perspective, and instead of the hopeful molder that everything out there is unknown, to the science hat is on, and you're like, well, that's a shooting star. Like we even had some videos of pilots reporting something really anomalous and really crazy, but it was, I can't make this up. One of the videos was the moon, and it was just clouds moving, and there's parallax, and there's all kinds of things while you're in the cockpit of an aircraft. So a lot of stuff was, I'll call it debunked. But then that portion that was unidentified, and just because we would label something unidentified didn't mean it was extraterrestrial. It was just unknown. And a couple of years later, we would find something else that was the same object. And so we would update our files to it being a weather balloon. So some of the one of the first items I remembered seeing that was really like mind blowing and made me stop, mouth wide open, and then like pause, like look around, because I'm just sitting at my cubicle at NGA, and I'm not read in a SAP, by the way, so I should clear that. I was not read in a special access program for any of the UAP stuff. Um, so any of my coworkers sitting around me could see what I was looking at as well. And I'm like looking around like, okay, I need somebody else to see this, like just to make sure I'm not crazy. And so you go through the Rolodex. You're like, okay, is that a balloon? You're thinking of like the observables, and there's a maneuver there. Like that's a G force that likely couldn't sustain, a body couldn't sustain. And so yeah, and that was more of like, I don't know, I'll call it like more of a tic tac type shape of something. And but unfortunately, a lot of the data is what what the public has now seen, because there's been quite a bit of videos and data that's been released, especially by AARO recently in the past year. Um, Data quality still isn't the best. Like people think, classified data is going to be super amazing. Yes, there is some that's super amazing, but a lot of the detections are going to be those MQ9s and those type of quality FLIR videos that we still want better data from, better sensor quality. So there was others that, would stop me in my tracks, or, that intuition, something inside me was like, I just know immediately that's not from here. So that small percentage of unknown was really cool to see.
Yeah, I bet. And hearing you describe like your colleagues being around and stuff, just day to day, just a gray office, and you just like your jaws drop when this incredible amount of color
Yeah,
just spills into your life. Like how did that
yeah.
impact you? Because it's one
Um,
thing to say I
yeah,
believe, but then there's another thing to see something that makes you go, I
yeah, that's
know.
so true. So, at first I was just like, how, how do I share this? And of course I can't. And then I had one of my coworkers who is very, very scientific oriented mind, very analytical brain. So I had him come look, but he was, so I was a SAR, synthetic aperture radar image scientist at the time. So that is energy, or imagery that is RF energy. So it's like black and white, like super fuzzy, kind of like sonar on a boat. So it's similar.
Sure.
Sonar sends and receives a sensor. It's an active sensor, and so that's what SAR is. And so these videos and these images that these objects are in are not SAR. So my scientist friend, I ask him, like, am I going crazy? And he'll look at it and be like, I don't know what that is, but I'm just going to go back to, like, he couldn't compute. He like shut down his brain type thing. And yeah, and so I would send it to some of the other people in the group and be like, guys, like, please tell me I'm not crazy. I can't figure out what this is. And so you send it to the team and you start investigating, and you contact, the operator who was on shift that night. If it was a video, and if it was an image, you try to retask the image and to see if something is still in the area, at another time. And then once all that's done and you still don't know what it is, it's just like you kind of sit in your seat and you're like, I knew it. Mulder was right. Mulder was right my entire life. And so it was almost like a vindication. So even in undergrad, so I grew up religious, and I, going through undergrad through physics and astronomy. So I initially wanted to be an astronomer when I first went to undergrad, and I fell in love with
that?
Astronomy. I ended up loving physics more, because it was, more solid and concrete. The answer is 5. I didn't realize, and throughout like high school, wanting to do astronomy, that it's more variables and more guesswork, and
Okay.
And so theoretical. There we go. That's a better word. And then I liked physics better because that's something you could hold. It's your cell phone. It's the turkey cooking for Thanksgiving. It's different kinds of things like that. So I fell in love with physics more, but I still love the stars, so I did both. But while I was in my undergrad, I worked in the research lab, and one of my coworkers, he was an atheist, and he was like, "How do you handle religion and then all this physics stuff?" And I was like, "Why are there 2 buckets? Why is that a separate thing? Why can't that be one? So I can't study physics and still pray to God." And then the same person was like, "Well, do you believe there's life out there?" And I was like, "Well, yeah. Why would God create just us? It's infinite amount of space, and it's just us out here. Like, how selfish is that to think that we're only it?" So my whole life I've believed. But then seeing it, like you said in the beginning of this conversation, seeing it's totally different. So seeing it felt like that younger Sarah in that conversation with my college, teammate. She was a little vindicated.
That's great. I'm glad the younger you was vindicated there. I know that feeling. Yeah, I was UFO crazy all through school. Every show and tell, I bring an X-Files VHS in. I was given a certificate at the end of the school for being the spooky Mulder of the school. So I've come a long way. Now we're having these conversations with people like yourself,
and
I'm like, look at that.
Have we come a long way? our fun shirts and crazy cat.
This is true. Maybe we were just given the tools that we needed to apply ourselves to this seriously, which is
absolutely.
the really cool part of what you did. But I've got to ask, did you see anything where you could see beings? We hear about races.
Did.
No.
So I unfortunately never saw beings or materials or anything like that. I was strictly just the data. And then even when I started meeting more folks, I've known people behind the scenes for many years before I have been public, and so those folks that I've been able to meet have talked about some of the programs and stuff of having material and reverse engineering and stuff. So I never was a part of any of that cool thing.
Sure. I love that you're getting in with those people now and having those conversations to scratch that itch of the question that was raised to you when you saw that video and the way it challenged everything you knew. Did you see anyone where kind of time was being affected weirdly, or there was some kind of traces of any of that? Because we hear a lot about warp bubbles and time being affected strangely when people are inside it or the craft
Yeah.
is operating.
I mean, I've seen like some of the videos that have already been reported, like of objects that looked like they were playing with pilots. And so they would kind of like, something would appear over there, disappear, and they're like, where'd it go? And it would reappear over somewhere else. So I never considered it of a time thing, but yeah, yes. So I guess my answer would be yes to that. But it was only like, I think one video I saw where it was playful, even though I know I can't imagine to a pilot that's probably so rude to say because they have to be terrified because they're flying an aircraft in the air while this thing's like bebopping around them.
Yeah, that's something that gets forgotten a lot, isn't it? And hearing you say playful is really interesting because that comes up in so many UFO cases. There's definitely like a personality to some of these things.
Yeah.
What do you think when we think of Blue Book, they had over 12,000 cases, and only a certain amount were deemed unsolved or anomalous, and they never got to solve them. I think it worked out to something like 5.6% of the total caseload were actually, anomalous things. What do you think the kind of ratio was for what you were working with?
Same. It's always hard to put in a number, and I'm sure I say a different number because I'm making it up. But it's a small percentage because there is a lot of trash and balloons floating around out there. And it's also hard to prove stuff because of parallax as well, because things move at different speeds depending on the distance away from the sensor. So small percentage, I would say like maybe like 5 to 10% type situation of stuff like being truly 100% unidentified.
Sure. That's really interesting. In another show you went on, you were asked about Jeremy Corbell's Jellyfish video release. And I know they said that the task force hadn't seen it. And I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about that. But I also have a video to show you where in the other show, you said that it was found to be some kind of aquatic form of life.
Oh yeah, and I did not hear that question. That was Matt Ford's. I know what interview you're talking
okay,
about.
Yeah, so please address it.
I did not have the right question, and it was not. That was like the 2-hour mark. My brain was tired. I was very nervous. That was my first time ever coming public. Did not hear the question properly. This is a very sensitive subject to me. So that video, I was very direct about saying I did not do the analysis. Sure. It was past my time on the task force, and it was not the task force that did the analysis either. It was AARO, and AARO put the report out. AARO has since, I don't know if you've seen, they have published it, and they have published some analysis. And it is not a UAP. It is, I don't want to say the wrong thing to get myself in trouble, but it is on their website now. But it is, and I've said it's not a UAP. This is a sensitive topic to me because I was slandered very badly by people I looked up to, people that had my phone number, people that I have met in person. And they didn't bother reaching out to talk to me. And instead, they said horrible things about me that are untrue. Most of my career, I have helped the U.S. and our allies be safe from terrorists. I have helped them sleep comfortably in their beds at night and fought terrorism almost every day since I graduated college. And that's how I'm paid back. So, it's even hard for me to breathe through this while talking about it, because it was very disrespectful, unacceptable. Yeah, especially since I met them in person, and they never said I was a liar or any of that to me. It It was, especially since they did it multiple times. But it is not a UAP, and anyone can go to AARO's website now and see the full video because it is very long. It is very boring. But the full video is on the website and analysis. So as of, I think it was probably we'll call it 3 or 4 weeks ago. So within the past month, we'll even just say 5 weeks just in case I'm wrong. So recently the analysis had been posted because they posted the video, I think it was back in April, but they didn't post the analysis yet. Yeah, so just because you say something different from somebody here, you shouldn't slander them and discredit them. I am happy to do my job and fight terrorism every day. I am still doing that now in my current job, and I'm so proud of it. And being in the jobs that I have been, I am a target. And yeah, so, even doing these interviews, every time I do an interview, it's a risk of my job and my career because of my clearance. If I slip up and I say the wrong thing, everything's gone. And so I don't think the public understands that either. Like they get frustrated that me is in this seat, I can't say more. And that's frustrating for me as well, because I'm here because I want the world to know that we're not alone. But it's not necessarily we're not alone. It's the truth. And the government's been burying the truth. I guess I'll say too that I'm not saying that there aren't jellyfish type UAPs out there. I'm just saying this specific video is not one.
That's completely fair enough. And I really appreciate you being honest and open there about how the community responds, because there's a weird kind of antagonistic relationship sometimes with people that are coming forward trying to help and just sincerely telling their story. And when that doesn't match expectations, many people in the community will attack people. And it's something that I've disliked about being a part of it, and I wish it wasn't there, but people just don't call it out. So thank you for being open and vulnerable. And I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. And even in academics though, too. So academics, the stigma is there. And it's so unfortunate to hear some of these amazing scientists, astrophysicists doing this research, and they, somebody tells them they can't publish it because their academic funding is going to get pulled if they publish this, because the university is afraid of backlash. And so it's just really unfortunate. And to me, some people aren't about truth anymore. They want more clicks or more views or something. And I'm always going to speak the truth. I'm always going to be me. I'm here for a reason, and I grew up with thick skin and a strong back. So no matter what, I'm always going to speak the truth.
Power to you, Sarah. I love that. I'm going to show you a video now. We're going to go from something serious to something fun. It's not a UFO video. I'm not going to show you a UFO video and ask your opinion. It's something that someone from Ocean X said many, many years ago. And this video, whenever I find it online, it disappears and I can never find it again. So I saved it and I just have it kicking around to look at every now and then and kind of go, whoa. So I just wanted to show you and just get your thoughts on whether there was any crossover with the kind of USO kind of subject, the unidentified submergible object.
I think in the ocean I have come across potentially beings from another heavenly body that are more highly advanced than humans. My name is Lamar. I'm an underwater director of photography for National Geographic and for Ocean X. I've seen giant deep-sea arachnids, venomous sea snakes far offshore with bright yellow heads, deep ocean volcanoes, technicolored deep ocean chemosynthetic worms, sharks in a frenzy, orcas swarming all around me, some sort of, hyper advanced aquatic alien creatures inhabiting the shallow waters, which almost look like stingrays. It's always the most beautiful place for me to be in, this three-dimensional void of space and quiet. Probably should be scared of, giant pissed off whales headed right my way with their jaws open. But for some reason, my heart rate just stays low and I just stay calm and keep cruising.
Okay. So not only does that guy have probably what is one of the coolest jobs in the world, by how he's saying he spends his day, but he says some really provocative things there. What did you think?
My first thought is, so what we haven't talked about is I'm also a psychic medium. So some of my experiences through my meditations and my mediumship and some of my healing sessions of clients, some of that resonated with me there. With my science hat, so of course, two different hats, even though
Sure.
the worlds are married and they're one. I have definitely seen, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it and how I've likely phrased it before, just making sure I won't have work issues. Objects going in and out of water. So yes, from both hats of mine, from a spiritual aspect and then a scientific aspect. Some of that resonated.
That's really cool. When he's talking about them looking like stingrays, it makes me think of the movie The Abyss and how they looked there, right? Yeah. How amazing would that be? And we hear often, UAP come out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that, the acronym UAP was changed from aerial phenomena to anomalous phenomena to allow for these other kind of domains that these things were found in, be it space or the ocean and everything like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to swing back now. That was a really interesting answer. Thank you. I won't pick your brain too much because I can tell there's a little there that we can't talk about, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. Why can't those files be released, the ones that you saw? What are some of the reasons?
Yeah, so I support not releasing some of them because of, we're looking in some places for a reason to, protect our warfighter, protect allies, or to not let the adversary know we're looking in a certain direction. Sometimes things are over water. Oh, that was really loud thunder. I'm sorry, that scared me. Sometimes things are looking over water or, there's full cloud cover. So I don't understand why that can't be released. Or if it's full vegetation terrain that something is near, why can't that be released? There's no soldier in harm's way if that's released. So some of the data that AARO is releasing now is really exciting because it's some stuff that I didn't think they would. So that gives me hope that more and more is being done. But unfortunately, the declassification process is not fully in AARO's hand either. It's actually in who owns the sensor. So it's the Army or whatever military branch is the sensor owner or the image. So maybe it is a classified image. So you have to go through a lengthy process. Like when I worked at NGA, I had to get some data declassified because I was working with a foreign country. And in order to get data downgraded to release to that country, sometimes it took over a month, and then I still got denied. So it's a lengthy process, and it depends on the quality of the sensor as well. We don't want everybody knowing how good of quality we may or may not have. So some things I think are reasonable to stay classified, but there's a lot out there that doesn't need to be.
Sure. I've just been looking at a paper before we jumped on that was released over the past few days by an astronomer named Beatriz Villarroel.
Yes.
I might have totally messed up her name, but her work's incredible.
Yes, she's amazing.
I literally, so you know her? Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
So when I wrote this down,
proud of her.
I thought, does she know Beatriz? So what do you think of her work? Let's talk about it. Did you see Transients in orbit and stuff like that? Because you did satellite work, right? So
if I ever saw them, especially in my early years, I didn't notice. I was so young when I was in charge of so much. My coworkers and I are like 22, 23 years old, and we're like, we're they put us in charge of what? We could hit like a deorbit button and a whoopsie daisy and what? And there's not a deorbit button, but so if there would have been something there, I likely would have just thought it was another satellite or something like that, just because of my mindset was different then.
Uh-huh.
But I think Beatriz is so incredibly brave and just such an amazing, road builder for a lot of what we need to know and what we need to learn and for future studies and for future research. So what she put out, I haven't fully read yet, but it is groundbreaking data that is pre-satellites. It's pre-Sputnik. And so and I even the scientist in me that I've been immersed in the intel community and around satellites and stuff for so long, I'm even thinking like the devil's advocate. Okay, so pre-Sputnik, there might have been some like prototype satellites out there before Sputnik. It still would not have been in that number that was presented in the paper.
Yep.
So even if there was like two out there, two prototypes or something, like a handful, less than a dozen, it would not have produced the amount of numbers that she's seen. So I can't be more proud of my friend. And I can't wait for the follow-on research and studies that is done after this, especially now that, quantum computing is starting to get bigger and you could crunch more data in fewer time. So yeah, I'm super proud.
That's really awesome. And yeah, for anyone listening who doesn't know what the hell we were just talking about, Beatriz basically found that pre-Sputnik, that there seemed to be objects in orbit around the planet that maybe didn't belong to us. Maybe we're being watched. Maybe it's from somewhere else. She doesn't know. All she's doing is finding the data to show there was something there when we think they shouldn't have been.
And it was in the transient, in the shadow too.
Yes.
So it's not like looking directly at the sun. It's in Earth's shadow is what she was looking at.
Great place to hide, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Really interesting. I can't wait till we see more. And you're right. You know, the UFO community is kind of white male dominated, right? So welcome to Beatriz for kicking ass. Welcome to you. Yeah.
Oh no, she's not coming in. She's been in the mix for a while, but yeah, so happy to call her a friend and to be by her side while she's going through all of this.
Very cool. And I'll make sure Beatriz sees this as well, because it'd be a nice little message from you to her as well.
Yes.
So we've touched on AARO a few times. I wanted to kind of ask you for an AARO report card. Like, how are they doing? How did you work with them? Was there crossover?
I have mixed feelings about them. So I'll say good and bad things. I'll start with good. So some stuff that I went through on the top secret JWIX, I forget what the acronym of JWIX stands for, but the TSSCI system, I had to work with AARO a little bit to transition some stuff over from what I was doing from like the collaboration site that I mentioned early on in this interview. And it was amazing. I was able to give them a lot of data and a lot of background knowledge of what's to come and hand it over. Kind of did a high five, a tag team. Kind of mentioned Hulk with the WrestleMania stuff. So I did the tag team and they stepped in and have taken the reins on some things. And it was amazing. And it was really good. The analysis that team I was working with, the analysis they do is phenomenal. So I do know the analysis that comes out of that group is great. But unfortunately, Dr. Kirkpatrick kind of ran them down in a deep ditch from lying. I never will understand it. I don't know the motives. I don't know if he was directed by somebody, but I know from his actions and what he did really gave AARO a very bad look and a very bad name, very distrustworthy name. But I will say the people that I worked with, I will always back them. I will never say who they are out loud, but they're an amazing analytical team that does the same work we did on the task force. They do the same collaboration and reach out to, you know, the people who were on shift the night, and they'll get eyewitness accounts, and they do the same work and produce really good analysis. So unfortunately, all that's classified, so the world can't see the goods that they actually are really doing. And then the new leader now, I have high hopes as well. I'm an optimistic person, so that's just in my personality to be hopeful. But I have high hopes for them, and I know that they are, you know, bringing people in and interviewing folks. And I do think that they're trying to dig out of that untrustworthy hole that they got thrown into.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree. I mean, I haven't interacted with Kirkpatrick, but it's very easy to see that he wasn't being completely transparent when he was talking about things.
Not at all.
It was a shame to hear that the people behind the man, you know, the people that run in the office day to day, are actually wonderful. And I think there's a habit of people to forget that there are just human beings working in these places. You know, it's not just one homogenous lump of flesh that we call AARO, that's one brain. Yeah. Same with the government. We say boo to the government. Which part? Who? You know, there's so many different people and different offices that never talk. It's like you're running down a dead end, really, when it kind of gets like that. So I wanted to ask you about controlled versus catastrophic disclosure. You're, I would say, a whistleblower. You know, you kind of came forward and spoke up. I know there's an exact definition of the word that doesn't fulfill, you know, what you did, but in kind of common language, we would call you a whistleblower in the community. How did you make that decision? Or rather, in fact, let me just touch on James Fox's amazing documentary, The Program. There's a moment in that documentary that I've spoken to you about already, where it's almost like James asked you directly, you know, did you see these incredible things? And you take a breath, and it almost seems like you take a run up to say, yeah, was that the first time you'd kind of said it out loud?
It was the first time. We filmed March of 2023. So it was long before I first came forward on Matt Ford's show, The Good Trouble Show. I had never said that publicly before from a government perspective of the knowledge I have, you know, behind a classified wall. I was, that pause, I will joke all the time that's like out of an hour and a half of the interview coverage of me, I'm talking about quantum physics. I'm talking about like my time on the task force, and he puts that pause in. But that was genuine. I thought that pause was like 2 seconds long, and it was not. It was much longer. But what was going through my head was, am I going to get fired for this? Am I going to get my clearance pulled? Am I going to have, you know, men in black at my door? Am I going to jail? Yeah, I could say this. Yeah, okay. That's not classified. And so that whole time, all that's going through. And so finally I was like, yeah, we're not alone. So that was my first time saying that from the classified perspective of what I know.
Yeah. Did that feel like a relief getting that off your chest?
That was terrifying. No. After we got done filming, I was so scared because it happened so fast. The day before, a few of us met for lunch, and James, we were all chatting with James, and at the end of the talk, he was like, "Sarah, I'd love to put you on camera. You got time tomorrow?" And I'm like, sure. Like, I didn't really think about it. Like, I'm here for a reason. I know my path is going the way it should. Like, okay. And if I can't say something, I won't. Right. And so it all happened so fast. So after filming got over, it was also started snowing on us. I was shivering. It was so cold out there that day. But after I got in my car, started warming up, I just went, oh shit, what did I just do? And I was like, my whole life is going to change. Because I know the UAP community is not kind to people, especially those that have clearances and can't fully disclose information to the public, because the public gets mad about that. And so I called Lou Elizondo. He's a very good friend, and he is family to me. I love him dearly, and his entire family I love. So I called Lou and I was like, what did I just do? And he like calmed me down. He was like, we're going to work through this. It's okay. You did the right thing. I'm proud of you. Like, so he gave me a little pep talk to reassure me. And I'm really proud. I don't know if I'm proud of that very long pause, but yeah.
You should be proud. Thank you so much for doing that. You are part of a handful of individuals over the past few years who are very seriously, palpably changing the conversation around this subject. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any repercussions from work or anything like that? Did you get fired? No?
No, I didn't. Actually, my boss at the time, I wasn't working for the government anymore. I was working for a like more of a smaller startup company. And my boss at the time, I actually worked with at NGA, and he knew I was a part of all of this UAP stuff, like from the classified side when we worked together at the agency. So he was super excited about it. He's like, tell me when the movie comes out, and this is super cool. So by the time I left the company and I started, doing the public interviews and everything, I'd send it to him, and he's just like, oh my gosh, this is happening. So I haven't had any issues whatsoever. Like, people know at work I'm a psychic medium. I don't hide that. It's not something I just put on my resume and I say up front, but it comes out. Like, I don't hide it. And some of my coworkers now in the job, I haven't been there too long, they know. And no one cares. No one cares at all. As long as I don't say something classified and I'm not operating on behalf of my current job. I'm not saying something on behalf of them. It's okay. I have been cleared. I've talked to the lawyers. I talk to my security all the time about everything. And then, when I started getting attacked from, I guess I should just be open about it. I don't know why I hesitate. So people should know the repercussions of what happened. So I understand that in a broader category, I'm considered, whistleblower to some, but from paperwork, I'm not, right? So I don't consider myself a whistleblower, but to summarize it, like, I get why you said I am. But when I started having, being attacked and trying to be discredited, for saying the truth. I'm not going to say who, but somebody, a senior in the government that is against disclosure, was contacted and was told I'm a liar, I'm discredited, and I was threatened to have my clearance pulled. I had to sign paperwork and had to, for those that don't know, so you fill out a form called an SF-86, and it is very long. If you Google it, it takes, like, the first time you fill it out, I think it took almost a week, because you have to have addresses of, neighbors, you have to have contact, you give over so much of your life, and it's for, like, at the time, I think it was for 10 years. Now I believe it's 7. So 10 years of your life, and like banking information, all kinds of things. So it takes a long time to fill out these forms, and I've had to fill it out multiple times because of the same incident. It just so happened I had to have my CI poly, counterintelligence polygraph. So you have to do those every 5 to 7 years. And I was well overdue. I had been somehow squeaking through the cracks and didn't have it done for a while. So I needed that anyways. So I had my poly done like the week before I got additional paperwork as well. And I am the world's worst liar. I learned that at a very young age. It is so pathetic on me lying. Like, I will start sweating thinking about trying to tell a lie in the future. And so my polygraphs are usually pretty quick, but I noticed they did change a few sentences that were geared towards some of what was happening. So it is very real when people don't like what you say and who you inform. We know who the person is that likely reported me. So I'm still here, and I never was, escorted out or anything. So I guess it helps being a truthful person, right?
I literally was about to say, truth prevails. Here you are, not fired. So it speaks volumes, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. How could the community improve its relationship with whistleblowers and people like yourself?
Oh my gosh. Be kind. Like there was, oh my gosh, just even one of my interviews I was doing, folks don't understand, like being in this seat, especially with this hot ring light right here. But being in this seat isn't easy. Like I know I'm myself and I could joke and I could laugh, but I still have to be cognizant of words because that could mean the end of my career because of my clearance. And what people aren't, like the public isn't kind about when, I interpret a question wrong and I say something was aquatic and I even said aquatic wrong, I get totally slaughtered for that. Never mind my entire background and all the things that I had said previously, because I misspoke for one sentence, I'm a liar or I'm a disinformation agent. I have had so many unkind messages and ridiculous stuff from people of so just the gamut of things, and it's just like scroll by. I don't care. Like I'm still going to be me and I'm still going to speak the truth. And then other whistleblowers are afraid to come forward because of stuff like that happens to me, and I'm not even a whistleblower, but I get blowback enough that I have to sign paperwork saying I understand if I don't do XYZ, my clearance will be terminated. And it's that's why they don't come forward. So it's unfortunate that the stigma and this buried toxicity of the UAP community in the world, including in the classified networks, is just so negative. I've had positive experiences, but be kind. Just because I don't answer a question the way they want or expect doesn't mean I'm not a human and I don't have feelings. It's a cat puzzle. It doesn't, like, people were trying to slander me for this like ridiculous thing over here, and it is so fun. It's so ridiculous and it's so wonderful. My coworkers and I put this together, and it's a difficult puzzle. Whoever gets it, it's on Amazon. But yeah, I've had people try to totally diss me and discredit me because I have this cat poster behind me. What? So folks, to protect, egos, like I get, like everything I say, I don't expect people to drink that Kool-Aid. I don't want them to. I want people to have their own journey and their own experience, but to keep an open mind with this. So the world needs skeptics, especially from like the spiritual aspect. The more and more this UAP road and disclosure and everything happens, the more married people are going to see it's to the spiritual world. And just to keep an open, healthy mind. But we need the skeptics. We need somebody like that. But what we don't need is somebody slandering and just being mean about it.
Yeah, I think some people in these social media spaces forget, in real life too, that you can disagree with someone without just being an asshole, right?
Yep.
Like, ask questions, be curious, you'll get more answers, as we've done. And now I've learned a whole lot more about what happened back there with Matt,
Yeah, like
could have been solved so much easier.
And we disagreed with something at one point during a talk, and I disagree with him. I stated why, and he was like, oh yeah, I see that. And I was like, but I see your perspective. And so we was like this mutual agreeing of disagreeing, but we were still kind to each other.
Exactly. We're all just human, and civilization came from people working together without just trying to rip each other's heads off, right?
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built on trolling. We'll say that. It worries me, this kind of stuff, because it makes me think that, as I already said, mostly white males in this community. So we kind of have a diversity problem from that point of view. But also, we don't have women, we don't have people of color. This is a worldwide phenomena. And it's not just, a woke thing, as people would say. We're literally losing valuable data by not being inclusive. How do you think they tackle that?
I actually joked with, I hope he doesn't get upset that I'm going to say this, but with James Fox, when he was editing, in the film, and he was going and interviewing more people, and then like my segment would be like 5 minutes, and then 4, and then like it would 5 minutes, like I'm making 5 minutes up, but it wasn't probably that long, but it was getting shorter and shorter. And I was like, well, James, there's like no women in this. You need to splice me in. Like, just splice me in for like half of a second every once in a while. So there's another, and then like Leslie Keane, like put Leslie in just like, just her face smiling or something every, in between segments when you switch to something, put a female in there. And he didn't like that joke. But I mean, yeah, there needs to be more women, and it's so unfortunate that it is such a male dominant. Like watching the hearing on, was it May 1st, the Disclosure Fund hearing?
Yep.
That and like seeing the pictures, like I know Anna was there. Anna's amazing, love her, and she's trying to get more women involved and more science-based women as well. And but like the pictures that were taken after that were of all the men. And I'm like, yeah, because I was invited to go that day to attend, not to talk, by the way, but to attend, to be in the seat listening. And I think a little part of me was like, I wish I kind of was there just to be in that photo, to have a little bit of woman in there. I don't know how to get more women in. That's always been a battle my whole life because I was in such a male dominant field always. I have, male dominant family, lots of male cousins. And so it started from the beginning for me. I, was the only female in some of my physics classes in undergrad, and even a part of one of my jobs while I was at NGA. I'm trying to think if I could say some of this stuff. I was on a military base in the Middle East, and a room full of colonels and generals and some civilians. And I was the only woman. And I made dang sure I was sitting at that table. There was probably about 20 men in that room, and a couple of seats open at the table. And I sat my butt right down and smiled the whole time. And then I also made sure to talk too. So that's who my personality is. Like I know we need more women in a lot of things in life. And I think that dynamic is changing. And we're starting to have a better voice and stand up for ourselves. But with this topic, I don't know how to get more to come forward. I think, Beatriz, being brave and publishing what she has will hopefully bring an entourage of maybe some younger scientists stepping up behind her. That would be really cool. And maybe some folks once in a while seeing some of these interviews might inspire some. But yeah, it's just always an ongoing battle to get more women, and especially more diverse women, to come forward. I need to figure out a better answer for that. I like this. I'll have to keep pondering this.
Sure. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, because it's just a problem that I notice every day when I'm in, whether it's on X in the communities or in specialized forums. It's just all like I'm just bored of seeing white guys talk about UFOs. And I say that as the host of a podcast, but I'm trying to do my work. This is the 5th episode we're recording, and I'm 3 for 2 women interviewing. So I'm trying.
Very good. Yeah, there's, I call it, like sometimes at work, we call it the old white men, the old white men club, even though there might not all be white, but it's like, that's usually what it is though. So it's, Yeah, we're tired of that. Come on, ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. And the world outside our window is diverse. We just want
Mm-hmm.
that to be reflected in these
Mm-hmm.
communities and everywhere else, right? Like,
Yep.
I think that's completely reasonable. Recently, Representative Burleson said that they have addresses for where material is kept. Was that anything that you were involved in? Did you hear that back when you were working with the task force, or is that new information?
Have what?
Addresses for where materials are kept. So, like, I think someone said after it, they gave like the Lockheed General address and some specific kind of base things. Was that spoken about when you were around, or was it just videos?
No. That does not ring a bell at all.
Okay, cool. If it were up to you, what would be next for government disclosure?
That's a good question. What's next? The first thing that comes to mind is the truth. But what does that mean? Good question, Sarah.
Well, let me ask it another way.
Yeah.
Because what everyone wants from, whether it's a hearing or a report from AARO or whatever, what everyone wants is proof, right?
Yeah.
And I often have this debate with myself, like we spoke about earlier, thinking it is one thing, but being shown the proof of something that's just outside of my paradigm entirely could end up breaking my brain. Maybe my biology literally can't handle what it is to look at one of these beings or whatever it is. So let's look at it from a public angle and maybe ask, can the public handle disclosure?
Oh, absolutely. The public could handle it. I mean, I think a different question would be, is the public ready? No. Humanity's never ready for change because we're wired to get up, put clothes on, go to work, drink, eat same food, do same thing, go home. So like we're wired to do the same thing and to be told what to do. So I think we could handle it, but we're not ready. But like with any change comes a little bit of turmoil. I joke about it because I grew up in the Midwest with Missouri with tornadoes. So with any tornado, you have destruction, but you also have the cleanup. You have your neighbors coming over to help you clean up whatever damage was done. Or I'm laughing because after tornadoes, like you'll see on Facebook of people being like, okay, I got somebody's trampoline in my yard. Whose trampoline is this? And so you have all this debris, but it's humanity comes together to help clean up. So I think that's what's going to happen is we could handle it, but we're not ready, but we'll all come together and to help clean up with each other. And it might be a little bit of destruction, but the unification will come afterwards. For disclosure, though, I don't know what I would want from the government because I don't think anyone's ever going to get it. Anytime somebody starts saying, oh, there's this tweet of, next week, stay tuned, something big's going to drop. And I roll my eyes and I'm like, well, what? Like we're going to get a storm? Like, what's going to drop? And so I don't think it'll come from the government. So I don't know how to answer that properly, I guess, because I truly don't think in my heart and in my soul that it's going to come from them. It's going to come from public. It's going to come from us talking with each other and having, education through podcasts and, Ross Coulthart with News Nation and all of his research and all of his, reporting and what he's doing. It's going to come that way. It's going to come through the public. And then the government's going to have to say, my bad. Yeah, this has been a thing here for a little bit. Sorry, guys. So maybe what I would first want from the government then is an apology.
That's totally fair. And you're not the only one. I think of Paul Benowitz and people like that who were almost driven to suicide through misinformation campaigns run on them by, in this case, Richard Doty. And there's going to be a whole host of people in that kind of vein that are like, hold on a second, I ended my career because you said I was crazy because I reported three lights in the sky. And here I am years later being told that I'm vindicated. Great. But remember when you ruined my marriage because I lost my job? Remember when, all these really practical day-to-day things.
Yeah. We're still having a human experience here, and it ain't easy. It's hard enough being this and keeping this, like, the skin suit maintained, let alone having to, live life and pay bills and have a family and a pet who I'm very surprised Krypton has not joined us yet, by the way. So
Wait, your pet is called Krypton?
yes. Yeah, my
amazing.
Cat.
I love that.
My cat's named Krypton.
Very topical.
Yeah.
When we discuss intelligence and consciousness, we often put ourselves on a pedestal, but we're finding more and more that different species of life can do all sorts of wonderful, novel things that suggest intelligence. I saw some article the other day that was talking about a spider who'd built its web in front of a security light because it could pluck the web, the light would come on, and all the bugs would come to the light and get stuck in its web, which is just incredible thinking, that's really novel. And also we find that life survives in places that we didn't think it would ever survive, extremophiles under the Arctic ice and in super high temperatures, Chernobyl in the remnants there, kind of eating radiation. Do you think consciousness and intelligence is exclusive to humans?
No. Sorry, that was my first reaction was no, and then I'm trying to process what else I might want to say. Exclusive to humans, no. Okay, maybe I should clarify before I start responding. You mean stuff like pets or animals, plants, things like that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So thank you. No, it's not exclusive to humans. So consciousness has now been proven to be in plants. There has been studies done of even consciousness in water. So Veda, I can't remember her last name, scientist, but she does water studies and freezes water things. And oh my gosh, watching some of her talks is just incredible. But there's a lot of studies now proving that plants and trees have consciousness and they talk to each other. Aspen trees, there's I think documentaries maybe. I know I want to say I saw it on Netflix, but aspen trees actually talk to each other, and it's like a whole community and a whole system that they have, that they could talk to each other through their roots and through the ground. And I mean, there's, telepathy tapes, and there's the episode where it talks about, animals and the consciousness of animals and being able to communicate telepathically with their owners, and, dogs knowing when their person's coming home. And then when they turn around and they don't go home anymore. I mean, it is, and the more I've gone down my spiritual route, the more I have learned how true all of this is. Like, everything does have a feeling, and I'll go back to the telepathy tapes again, because they actually did do good studies of the people and the kids that are in them. But they talk about, there's one of the kids loves crystals and gemstones. I think they call them rocks though. But, he knew there was a rock waiting for him when he got home from school or wherever he got home from that day. I forget the exact details. Everything is energy, and everything has a vibration on this planet and in the universe. And we're all made of the same material, because a star had to explode billions of years ago for us to exist now. So we are literally made of the universe, and we are all connected to each other. We are made of nature. When you look at, a chest x-ray of our lungs, the branches and the veins and stuff look similar to some, the veins on a leaf. It's pretty incredible, all the studies now proving how connected so much is in this universe.
It really is. And I don't think we've appreciated it before now until the age of, we're talking quantum computers that can hold all of this data at the same time and process it. You could almost make an argument, and probably some people are, that the planet itself is a life form and that it's alive and it responds to things. What is climate change if not the planet responding to our activities on it,
Well, and the planet has a natural cycle. So, the ice age, and there's a heating up. So the planet itself has a natural cycle itself. So on top of, at first when climate change was introduced, I was like, that's total BS. But then the more I learned about, the planets and planet history and formation through my undergrad, I was like, oh, there is something to it, because it could be like a natural heating up cycle of our planet itself, and then we're also adding to it with everything that we're doing to Gaia, to our Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is often more subtle than either of those two black and white kind of thinking, right? You could be on one side of it and not appreciate the other. But as always, it's finding the mid ground and the understanding that brings the productive conclusion and solution,
Yeah.
So my idea of the phenomena changes almost every day. So when I ask you this question, I'm going to ask it knowing that in 1 hour you might think something totally different. But right now, as we're talking, what do you think the phenomena is? Is it more than one thing?
I consider it, I keep thinking to use the word, this is going to be so generic, but everything. Because of having my spiritual background and knowing the phenomenon being UAPs, extraterrestrials, NHI, non-human intelligence, aircraft, or not aircraft. I meant to say like spaceship. That's but and then having the aliens and the telepathic communication and people feeling stuff whenever they see an aircraft. And, Jake Barber talks about having this feminine energy that he felt, and he was emotional about it. So the more we go down this phenomenon path that I think used to be exclusively just about the spacecraft and just about the NHI, is now starting to have this like spiritual aspect come in. And the more these two roads happen, like folks are going to realize they are married and they're going to converge. So I think the phenomenon is that convergence.
What an interesting answer. I like
that.
it.
I just came up with that.
Do you have any personal experiences with UFOs or UAP or any high strangeness at all?
Yeah, I definitely do. When I was little, I thought I saw some UFOs, but now I know those were satellites. So I didn't officially see my first UFO, UAP, until I'm trying to think of the date, 2 summers ago. So it was, I think, the end of June of 2023. I was at Brown Mountain in North Carolina. So beautiful I saw the Brown Mountain Lights. So if anybody wants to Google Brown Mountain Lights, I saw something there, and that was just a person was with me. The guy was a stranger, and we were talking with somebody that I had just met. A handful of people it was like a dozen of us went UFO hunting one night, and most of the people I was with was like down, not near me, and they were looking one direction. And I just met this stranger talking with another person I had just met, and the guy and I were looking this direction at the woman, and something showed up over, like basically over her shoulder on the mountain ridge. And so that was my first time being like, what? And, as so many people that see something, you're kind of frozen and you don't think about taking a video or anything. And I didn't, because it happened so fast. So I didn't get any imagery or anything. I did get a couple of videos that night, but it was of people camping, so fires and stuff like that. So we had night vision scopes and stuff like that too with us. And then I saw I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but I've seen, I was able to summon in some UAPs one night in Egypt. So I was on the Egypt trip that Ross Coulthart was on, that he produced a handful of segments on. Oh my gosh, they're so great. Highly recommend having a journalist with you whenever you go on vacation to document everything. It's super fun to watch them. But while we were on the Nile cruise boat, and everybody was, sitting, chatting one night, I helped summon some in. Another psychic medium friend of mine, that, is trained, with a handful of people, also helped me. So it wasn't just me that night, but we summoned in, I want to say it was over a dozen. It was long enough. They were coming in that, it was orbs that they were coming in, that some of the guys had time to go down to their room to get their night vision scope and to come back up, and it was still happening. So that was really, really cool. That was super unexpected, and just a fun memory. And it was early on in the trip, so I didn't really know people's names very well yet. And so that was really cool. And then I've even seen, I didn't get it recorded either. Oh no, I do have a recording of it. I started recording it late, but in late March this year, I was on a hiking trip down in Roanoke, Virginia, and was out in a cabin kind of on the side of a mountain. And I was like, oh, I actually had a UFO detector with me that I'm testing out for some people. And it didn't go off, but I think it was because it was around the corner. It didn't have line of sight. But as soon as I started recording, I could feel like it didn't want me recording, like it was showing up to say hi. And then when I started recording, it kind of started like fading away, and then it pivoted and just faded away as it kind of took off. But it was, I know satellite paths and orbits, and I know like the polar orbit goes a different direction than something more in a geosynchronous orbit, something in Leo, Leo's low Earth orbit. So I understand orbitology, right, from my satellite background, and definitely know what an airplane looks like. And I have a flight radar tracker on my phone, so I could get that out to see if there's any aircraft right there or not. And yeah, so that was really cool, being able to see that. And I've seen like some people call them flash bulbs.
Sure.
So I've seen a few flash bulbs as well now. And then I've also had a visitor in my bedroom.
Oh, you just ended on that one. What?
Yeah. So it's been a crazy ride.
When you say a visit, do you mean like a humanoid figure, or are we talking like a light you've named?
It was a blue being in the bedroom one night. Being a medium, especially before I knew I had abilities, I would have people, kind of like the movie The Sixth Sense. The little boy had people come to him in his dreams. Yeah. Well, yeah, while he was sleeping in his dreams. So that happened with me until I learned what was happening to me and how to like kind of control it and protect myself. So I'm saying that because it's like, it's kind of nothing to be woken up in the middle of the night from spirit or from something, noises. I do have a best friend that's in heaven, and he likes to F with me once in a while, and he will make noises and try to get my attention because I'm not paying it. I'm not paying attention to him and listening to a message that he's trying to give me. So it really is normal for me to wake up and something's there. But now at this point in my life, if something's there, I know it's of love and light because I don't allow anything in my house otherwise. So Krypton, I mentioned my cat Krypton earlier. He is my little protector. I have seen him fight and growl at things in the air and protect me, and not knowing what was there. So over the years, I have learned to trust him and his reaction to things. And I even know when my best friend comes and visits, I know how Krypton will react to seeing him. I'm like, oh, okay, that's Jippy. So when I woke up at night, of course, I'm thinking I'm dreaming, and so I kind of do like a little pinch check and and Krypton's at my side. My other cat that's unfortunately passed away now. Homeboy never cared about anything happening. If he was sleeping, and don't touch him. So he was still sound asleep. But Krypton was sitting up and like just sitting there, and he wasn't scared. He wasn't nervous. He was just sitting there watching it as well. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm awake because you're watching it too. And it was pacing. It was pacing back and forth. Like it was, a guard protecting the entrance to something, or, like a protective type feel. And, no lights were on. So it was kind of hard to see exactly what color of skin and everything, but it had this like a blue with a slight purple sheen, like iridescence almost to the skin. No hair, and it had ridges. And then like not Voldemort, it like exactly, but more of a Voldemort type, like it had a nose, but it was more like slant, like straight.
Sure. So not protruding like ours.
Yeah, but like protrudes more than Voldemort and Harry Potter.
Sure.
It had no ears, but it had holes for ears. And it had a suit on that was like a uniform but it resembled something from Star Trek, like something very plain. And it was a dark color, but it had a sword, and the sword was what kind of like lit up the room a little bit to let me see. And the sword was like a really big machete, like a huge sword, but it was like crystal. It was a crystal type material, and it was beautiful, and it just radiated power from it. And then at one point it stopped, and there was a glow. So I guess it was a portal, that opened, and it was like a pinkish type color. And the being stopped and looked like it was communicating through it. And that was only open for, 2 seconds. It wasn't very long. The portal went away, and it continued pacing back and forth. And so I'm looking at Krypton too, checking him, like, am I crazy? What is going on right now? So Krypton's still watching, like his head's going back and forth, watching it like I am. And he still doesn't feel threatened or anything. So Krypton ends up laying back down to go back to sleep. And I'm like, all right, I'll go to sleep. I'll go back. Like, thank you. I appreciate you protecting me. And it just felt like it was letting me know that whatever was to come in life, I was protected by a lot of entities, and not just, I have my spiritual team protecting me, but now I have like this outworldly team that is also there protecting me. And I just felt like, love and protection from it. So, okay, well, so make yourself at home. There's plenty of water downstairs and like a spare bed over there. You ain't allowed in this one. Okay, bye.
Here's the Wi-Fi password.
Yeah. But I was just like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, thank you. Okay, night. And so I just laid back down and, went back to sleep. And that was a few summers ago. So that was probably, oh my gosh, now I don't even remember. I think it was 2021 or 2022 when that happened. And I do know, I did tell, if anybody has read Lou Elizondo's book, Eminent, he does talk about, visitors. And so I shared that story with him, and he was like, yep, once you're in, you're in. They're going to be visiting you and protecting you and like kind of checking you out. So I've actually learned a handful of other people have also had that were on the task force or a part of the collaboration stuff, have also had visits.
That's wild and amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, totally. You're so blasé about it. I think if I saw a blue figure, I would just freak out. Or at least be like quietly afraid. I'd watch it and think I was going crazy. But having the animal there to kind of bounce off, to be like, oh, we both see this. Okay, it's not just this is something outside of my mind, or whatever. That's
I'm
amazing.
also wondering if like my mediumship background was why the full figure showed up for me. Cause like some of
Sure.
my other friends just, in Lou's book, he talks about the orb and it was a color. And so my other friends have had orbs in their house as well. So then I'm wondering if I got to see the whole thing because it knew I wasn't going to freak out and be scared
Yeah.
because of that kind of being normal. Like I usually just yell at Jimmy. If I'm woken up at 3 a.m, I'm like, Jimmy, leave me alone. Like I'm still a human. I need my sleep.
As we close this first chapter of exploration with Sarah Gamm, we're reminded that the universe is vast and the mysteries it holds are endless. From the stars above to the secrets within, Sarah's journey encourages us to keep questioning and seeking the truth. If today's episode sparked your curiosity, let Sarah's journey inspire you to embrace the unknown and to pursue your own path of discovery. Whether it's the mysteries of the universe or the secrets within, remember that every question is a step towards understanding. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Spotify or on your chosen platform. If you could like, share, or subscribe, that would be very much appreciated. It helps us find our tribe. If you'd like to support the show and get access to a 1-hour live chat each month and early ad-free access, you can find us at Patreon. Just follow the link in the show notes or at our website, tobehumanshow.com. And feel free to reach out via the contact page or email at hello@tobehumanshow.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, or X at tobehumanshow. As always, remember to be curious. The universe is bigger than we know.
What It Means to Be Human is a double-barrel production. This week's episode was produced by Roz Mugford and Dan Zetterstrom. Sound post-production by Parker Mosley with technical support from Dale Mugford. Our theme music is by Thunderbird.